שלום, אנחנו נמצאים בשיעור בנושא
Hello, we're in a lesson on perception of reality. We're going to read selected excerpts, which you can find on kab.co.il. You can also ask questions, and selected questions will be aired. Lesson on perception of reality.
We can say that there is no topic that's more important than the perception of reality. Because basically, reality is our kind of orientation of where we are, that we exist in a certain reality. This reality is depicted out of our qualities. If we had qualities, reality would be accordingly different. This reality can change through changing our qualities by some external element, which we call creator, or by us. Changing reality determines if we are developing in its time or by hastening it, depending on who awakens the change of reality, the change of the perception and sensation of reality. All this is changeable, subject to change. And here is the point. Who is asking for these changes? How can we establish, calibrate our perception of reality correctly? From several angles, several viewpoints that we have in order to bring everything, to bring our perception to the complete single picture. The whole of the wisdom of Kabbalah is only a method for changing the perception of reality, where through the 10, through connection, we awaken in us all kinds of new qualities with which we discover a new reality. Reality itself is just one, the light of Ein Sof. Everything else is how we see ourselves on the background of Ein Sof. Is it we? Who are we? I see the world, still vegetative, animate, and speaking, 4 levels of my desire. That's what it is. When I change it, I change reality. The picture, the perception, the understanding, the attainment. And the whole of the wisdom of Kabbalah teaches us how we come to a state where we change our qualities internally and therefore see a different reality. The false world, as opposed to the world of truth, is really 2 degrees of perception of reality. Either I attribute to reality some form of independence, that it exists in and of itself, or I begin to see reality as a result of my own qualities only. And other than me and the upper light, the creator, there is nothing. There's nothing else. And my whole work is to discover, to reveal to myself the actual reality, which is revealed according to the similarity of my qualities with the abstract light. In our development, this perception of reality comes from the upper light, which awakens in me, invokes in me all kinds of changes, or I invoke in me all kinds of changes. And here, in the wisdom of Kabbalah, we scrutinize what's desirable, in what way to advance toward changing reality, to what extent I can reveal all the means for changing reality. I'm not talking about the perception of reality, I'm talking about changing reality. The perception, it's clear that it depends on what appears in me or appears to me, meaning how I take the reins, the steering wheel, and begin to change reality according to my choices. Where each time I see a more advanced opportunity for equivalence of form, my equivalence of form with the upper light, until we come to a state where we have dvekut, adhesion between us, a world that is all good, etc. So if a person positions himself correctly with respect to the perception of reality, he has nothing else to focus on. All other actions, discernments, he attributes to enhancing the correct perception of reality in him. The important thing is for us to shift from the sensation of the outside world that seemingly exists into the sensation of the inner world, which is the only thing that exists. And once we determine that the whole of reality exists only in my perception, then I'm concerned only with acquiring a truer and truer perception of reality, a more inclusive one. And this is our work. And then I understand that everything depends on my qualities, how I awaken myself to promote them. And in these qualities, I need to reveal two forces, one opposite the other, positive and negative, seemingly, because this is how what I call them, and how I position them in contrast, in such contrast that I can detect more and more discernments in both quantity and quality. And out of this, out of the right perception of reality, I discover the upper force, which establishes, which designs the whole of reality. Well, there's more to talk about here, but for now, let's continue with our text. If there are questions, please. Yes.
What does it mean to change in me my inner qualities?
The will to receive, to the extent that it appears in me, changing it into using it correctly. Using it correctly means that to the extent that I connect in my will to receive, all the details that seem foreign to me, and I bring all of them closer in connection, in love, from the closest to me to the farthest. And in this way, I change my quality according to the actual reality. By this, I draw closer and closer in my inner qualities that are opposite from the upper light into I bring it closer to the upper light. And here we can understand that from here we can understand that we must not destroy the evil inclination, the opposite qualities, because precisely this is what helps us locate the white light. That's how we attain the Creator. This is why the wisdom of Kabbalah says that there is nothing bad in the world, but everything is given for our correct usage. And by using it correctly, you will discover between the bad and the good the upper force, which doesn't really belong to the good or to the bad, but it creates them, governs them, and this is how we will attain it. Moscow.
Доброе утро. Какая роль десятки в формировании правильного восприятия реальности? Сергей.
What is the role of the 10 in forming the correct perception of reality in the 10?
The role of the 10 in the design or perception of reality is that in the 10, I'm in a situation where I seemingly have strangers in front of me, and I begin to relate to them as not strangers, but as desires, strange ones. And then I unite them to be not foreign desires, but really close. But the ego deliberately and artificially, the Creator says, I've created the evil inclination. Yes, He separated these desires. So we need to unite these desires. I have to do it, first of all. I don't know about others, but I see them as people outside of me. This is for now. And the 10 is that system which I have to unite, and by this I begin to the extent that I unite them all together and relate them to me, that there is no one here outside of me. It's just how it seems to me. But really, each and every friend, or as Rabbi says, stands in my heart, or is really part of my heart, or is really my heart and not part of it. So if I approach the correct uniform perception of reality in this way, I see that this whole 10 was given to me, so that in contrast with the world and all the other forms I see in life, the 10 to me is something that I must now accept as me. That there are no foreign people here who exist outside of me. Their desires are my desires, and I have to unite them all together. And in unifying all of these desires, I will discover the one unique and unified force on top of the difference between the desires, the rejections, the various states that contradict one another, these contradicting and conflicting desires. So, to the extent that the rejection, friction, and to the extent that I try to unite them all together on top of all these, because according to the effort is the reward, so accordingly I will discover the power of connection. In quantity and quality, I will discover the upper force. And I will discover it. I will make it. As it is written, you have made me. This is why the 10 is unlike the rest of the world, which I'm not dealing with right now. It's too much for me. But the 10 is the mechanism with which I can work as if it is my own. And it is really my own. And my immediate duty is to relate all of them to me, so that there is no difference between all the desires that are in this way in the 10. This is the attitude to the 10. Yes.
אנחנו לומדים, כמו שרב אמר, להתייחס רק כלפי העשירייה. בכל זאת...
We learn, just as Rav said, to relate only to the 10, and we're delving deeper and deeper. And we have external situations, now daily that happen in a regular,
I said, and I'm asking, do not confuse others. I said, only in the 10 we relate this way. We relate to it as my own. Everything else will come later. That's it. Please listen to what I'm saying and don't...
No, I'm listening to Rav. I'm just saying that naturally a person relates additional things. Should that be cut? Should it only be referred to in the 10?
It's different learning. How to attribute the whole of reality outside of the 10 to me. That's a different study. There, I just have to unite everything to the Creator. As we learned in the previous lessons about the perception of reality, that there's none else besides Him. He is good and does good. All the distractions I see in the hostile world that's confusing, all this comes from the Creator too, of course, who in a certain way relates to me so that I, on top of all these crimes, will discover His love for me, that this is how He wants to bring me closer to Him. But this is already a different level of connecting reality into one. We needn't try to catch everything. There are stages. Yes, please.
After we learn how to perceive reality correctly, and we know how to work emotionally, internally, it seems like then what work is left to do after?
No work is left. All of the correct perception of reality is what we need to do from here until the end of correction. But once you go into the right perception of reality, it's regarded as entering the ladder.
Then what?
Then each time you discover increasing levels of yut, thickness in our will to receive, more and more contradicting discernment's surface, They confuse us. These different elements, we attribute all of them to the connection between us and the Creator. The same perception of reality we just talked about, which is what I see is my own qualities on the background of the light of Ein Sof, and there is nothing else besides this. I and the Creator. What about others? I can't say anything about others. They're not others. They're parts of me. But do they also work in this way? Right now, I can't talk about someone outside of me. If he is independent or exists in my perception of reality, I haven't achieved this yet. This is a question that I leave for later. There's no necessity to get confused. Out of this whole picture, you need to grasp only that certain fragment with which I can work in certainty and with it to advance. The role of the teacher, yours as well, who are also working with the public, is to be careful and give the right portion, like feeding a baby, yes, and then a child, and then a grown-up, with in different ways and with different foods. Yes, Gilad.
Can you again just be more precise about the work between me and the 10 and me and the world?
With the 10, I have to accept the desires of the 10. First of all, distinguish between corporeality and spirituality. Here, we still can't swallow all of these things. Because let's put it this way. To jump on them or cover them and begin to work with all of these degrees together, we can't. We still don't have the right design and stable one of the perception of reality, so we can begin to analyze it and synthesize it and perform all kinds of manipulations on it, like in a puzzle. So we need to advance little by little, with partial work. What is recommended is to relate to it in this way. All of the desires of my friends are mine. Mine. The desires of my friends, meaning the desires for spirituality, where they are called friends. There are corporeal businesses, a wife, children, relatives, work, family. That's got nothing to do with their being my friends. It's a more external stage of them, and we'll talk later about how I have to work with them. There's the first front in front of me, and there are other levels, more internal ones, which at the moment I can't reach. So, relating to them as friends means relating to their desires for spirituality, where the Creator shows my quality, which is split into 9 parts besides me, and I have to collect them all together as mine. The truth is that man is one created being. There aren't many people, it's just how it seems to us, so that we would try to understand the essence of that man, Adam. But really, only I was created. And in gathering this image that's dispersed and divided and that manifests in this way before me, By doing so, I learn how to connect my inner qualities into a single quality. Yes?
So my personal qualities are the 10.
Yes. First and foremost. About the rest, I don't want to talk now. People asking on the street, not even at home. There is the 10. This is my spiritual kli, period. Afterwards, we'll learn. Of course, the all of reality will enter the inner kli, but bit by bit. Moscow.
За счет какой силы происходит переключение от вот этих внешних отношений с товарищами?
The action of what force takes place in the transition from external relationships to the friends to a perception of the inner world that takes place in man? What force rides that change?
The upper light. The upper light shines and awakens in a person a new relation to the perception of reality, where he begins to understand the necessity for a truer perception of reality, a more internal one. Seemingly against his will, he comes to a state where he must begin to see this inside. It's like we grow from children to youth, to juveniles, to grown-ups. So our perception of reality changes. Can you compare how our child sees the world and how we see it as grown-ups? How we relate to children accordingly? We understand that they still see the world in a limited way in their desire. What do they have in the world? They have games and candy. That's their world. Their duties also, and their corrections are likewise on their level. So we're likewise. From where do we get a more expansive perception later? Because the intellect and the sensations, the feelings grow. They develop. So it's the same for us. How? Just as for them, so it is for us. Through the light. Don't look at the flesh and blood bodies, but at desires, thoughts, mind and heart. Look only at this in life. Everything else just seems to us like it exists externally. So if we begin to feel that we have some inclination to a more internal perception of reality, it's considered that we have advanced. Now you can ask me, but I don't feel the need for it. So what do? What do? You advance with society. Because none of us advances alone, but we help each other. To the extent that society in general engages in this, all of its parts will also be able to engage in this. And this will not be called unripe fruit. There are all kinds of arguments and complaints that can be here, but it will not be called premature. Because a person who is in a society of grown-ups will grow up like the society. And if he's not in a society of grown-ups, he won't grow at all. This is why we can advance in this way. This is called hastening it, where we ourselves draw, extend our advancement. So we'll advance in this way together, bit by bit. Moscow? No, Moscow. Haifa.
How do I relate to the 10 throughout the day after the morning lesson?
It doesn't matter to me if it's the morning lesson or evening lesson or where I am. There's no time or movement or place. They don't change my relation to reality. It is always one. I'm opposite the upper light, and the attain is between us to the extent that I attribute it to me. I bring to me the upper light. It doesn't matter where we are. This form, this image, this perception of reality must always be with me. And then we will add to it more and more details. I'm not saying we have to hurry up in changing this image. It's to the extent that we can tolerate that. Just like habit becomes a second nature, we will get used to it. As he writes, that through habit, a person can feel reality completely according to his initial qualities, he would not be able to attain. Now we're talking about actual attainment and how to approach the first attainment. This is why we need to perform exercises and get used to it. But again, the main thing is what we learn and try to think about during the day. And if possible, we also need to participate in the Zohar lesson. It adds a lot, not in terms of knowledge, like in the morning lesson, but in addition of light. Okay, so that's it. No more questions? Moscow.
Леонид из единой виртуальной группы спрашивает.
Question from Leonid from the virtual group. He's asking, in attain that's correctly structured, all the friends perceive reality similarly? So is that some sort of criteria that represents the readiness of the 10?
I can't talk about this. It's not really a relevant question. 10, how each one perceives. 10, I see the 10 as my kli, as parts of me. That through my ego, they are far from me. That my ego gives them all kinds of forms, faces, corporeal character. The minute I cancel my corporeal ego, I will not see them as standing in front of me in a material form. I see them as being in me, as inseparable parts of me, as 10 Sefirot of my soul. And this is how we want to start relating to it, bit by bit. We are already talking about serious stuff. This is practical wisdom of Kabbalah. Yes.
העניין של טוב ומיטיב ואין עוד
matter of good and that does good and none else besides him, is that different levels, different degrees of revelation?
When I try to locate reality, try to detect it, then I have to say that what I see meaning all of my senses. Yes, because seeing is the highest sense. So seeing means I feel in all of my senses. What I feel in all my senses is what the upper providence depicts to me, or the upper light, or the Creator, which wants me to feel in this way, or see, whatever, to feel. So that's The first thing, that's sorry, one sec. That's the first thing we need to establish to ourselves. We talked about it in the latest lessons on the perception of reality. That's the most important. That the most important is not to forget the fact that everything I feel is what providence depicts in me. And when it depicts in me my world, everything I see in the world, including all kinds of forces and forms that are unpleasant, specifically those, that too the Creator depicts, so that I will determine that besides the front, He has created me also from behind. Or I'm not sure about the difference between sorrow and depiction, because in Hebrew it's the same word. So He creates a depiction in behind and before, front and back, but everything comes from Him, and it all comes in order to promote me. This is why I determine that He is good and does good. This is how I accept it above reason, for now. If I can accept it within reason, then I've already attained a degree, I have attained Vikut. But for now, I try to constantly bring myself back into the fact that there's none else besides Him. Yes.
But if it's all a matter of feeling, then I can...
It's both feeling and understanding.
Right, so this concept, this perception, there's none else besides Him, and that everything comes from Him, that's easy to connect that to. But good that does good, as long as I'm not corrected and I don't have the quality of bestowal...
We should try to constantly believe in this way, above reason. Well, right now it's not the real above reason, but it's what we have. In the preparation period, where you still accept it as the good who does good. That's it. This fact is a fact in all of our stages of development, although such stages appear to us that seem like worse than death. Still, we must accept them as coming from there's none else besides Him, and He is good and does good, and advance toward it. Now, we should also pray. Ask for the Creator to open my eyes, but not that I will see it. I don't want to see it. If I see it, it'll be a klipa. I want to accept it with faith. The light of bestowal, meaning not reveal the Creator as there's none else besides Him and He's good and does good in and of Himself, but on top of all of His actions, to determine from within me that there is none else besides Him and He is good and does good, and the partition between us should remain. Just imagine you have a friend. Where do we have this example? And he says he owes you 1,000 shekels, and he says he'll give it to you back. He'll return it to you tomorrow. Or he shows you this banknote. He'll cash it tomorrow and will give you 1,000 shekels. So, where is your bigger and better work? When you don't see the check, but you believe him as if you got it back already. Don't remember how he interprets it with his beautiful words. But this is how we should relate to the Creator. We should be very careful. As he writes, be careful of sending your hand, yes, which is attainment, which is grasping. But rather remain under the screen. I don't want to see, I don't want to discover, because by this I bring him down. to the level of my senses. I want to appreciate him means to believe, so that my feeling will come out of faith. It should be clothed in faith. We'll talk about it. It's good that we're touching it. You have it there?
It's an article from Writings of Rabash, second volume.
Say it clearly again.
What is the matter of the purity of the ashes of the cow? Writings of Rabash, volume 2.
The ashes of a cow in the work. In volume 2. Okay. That's it. So, let's start. What can you do? So we had a little longer than usual introduction.
Reading the first quote, Rabash volume 1, the whole Torah is one holy name.
Item 122.
Item 122.
This is a very long topic. Who knows when we'll finish it? We'll have all kinds of additions to it. So we are numbering all of these parts consecutively. So we should always note the numbers.
We must always consider the goal, which is to do good to his creations. If the evil inclination comes to a person and asks him about all of Pharaoh's questions, he should not reply with lame excuses, but say, "Now with your questions I can begin with the work of bestowal." This means that we should not say about the questions of the evil inclination that it came to us in order to lower us from our degree. On the contrary, now it is giving us a place to work, by which we will ascend on the degrees of wholeness. That is, any overcoming in the world is called walking in the work of the Creator, since each penny joins into a great amount. That is, all of the times we overcome accumulate to a certain measure required to become a kli for the reception of the abundance. Overcoming means taking a part of a vessel of reception and adding it to the vessels of bestowal. It is like the masach, which we must put on the aviyut. It follows that if one has no will to receive, then he has nothing on which to put on a masach. For that reason, when the evil inclination brings him foreign thoughts, that is the time to take these thoughts and raise them above reason. And this is something one can do in everything that his soul desires. And he should not say that now he's received rejection from the work. Rather, he should say that he's been given thoughts and desires from above, so as he will have room to include them in Kedusha, in holiness. It follows that it's quite the opposite, because that he's being brought closer from above. He's been given work. And it was said about this is the way of the Lord, they're straight, the righteous walk in it, and the transgressors fail in it.
So he says about it that all the thoughts that come so that we can relate to them correctly. Again, to see them as coming from one source only, that there's none else besides him. And he is good and does good, as much as we can determine it. And in this way, we establish ourselves all the time in there is none else besides him. We must always consider the goal, which is to do good to his creations. Please show us the text. We must always consider the goal, which is to do good to his creations only, in every possible way that may appear to us, It is still to do good to his creations. If the evil inclination comes to a person and asks him all of Pharaoh's questions, who and what? Yes, who's the Lord that I should obey his voice? And what is this work for you? Meaning, we still have to relate to all those things, not as Pharaoh, but as the Creator. Pharaoh is the posterior side of the Creator who deliberately gives us these bitter life and questions so we would invert our relation to them. So he should not reply with lame excuses to these questions, because nothing was created for no reason. But say, now, with your questions, I can begin with the work of bestowal. Specifically. Otherwise, it wouldn't be possible. This is why it's necessary. The exile in Egypt is necessary. This means that we should not say about the questions of the evil inclination that it comes to us in order to lower us from our degree, because this is how we feel. On the contrary, now it has given us a place to work. Which one? By which we will ascend on the degrees of wholeness. Thanks to these hard, confusing, unpleasant, frightening questions. Otherwise, it is impossible to ascend. That is, any overcoming in the work is called walking in the work of the Creator, since each penny joins into a great amount. Each time we'll receive obstructions, and each time we'll have to overcome them. We have to draw all the means in order to relate correctly to all the distractions, so that through them we'll immediately ascend. It's like steps. Every step is an effort. It's an obstruction. It's not a plane. It's a degree. It's a step. But that's how we climb. That is, all the times we overcome, we accumulate to a certain measure required to become a kli for the reception of the abundance. Without these steps, we won't have a kli for the reception of the abundance. Overcoming means taking a part of the vessel of reception and adding it to the vessel of bestowal, meaning we add our correct relation to it. It is like a masach, screen, which we must put on the avyut, thickness, or will to receive. It follows that if one has no will to receive, he has nothing on which to place a masach. For this reason, when the evil inclination brings us foreign thoughts, this is the time to take these thoughts and raise them above reason. What's above reason? Even though we feel that they disturb us and frighten us and confuse us, we have to take them with understanding and love and build out of them a new degree, an ascent. This is something one can do with everything one's soul desires. He should not say that now he has received rejection from the work. Rather, he should say that he was given thoughts and desires from above so as to have room to admit them into Kedusha, sanctity, or holiness. This is really the only reason we need disturbances, and the world is full of them. It therefore follows that it is to the contrary. Because he is brought closer from above, he was sent this work, because he is suitable for this work. It was said about this, the ways of the Lord are straight, righteous walk in it, and the transgressors fall in it. Questions? Yes?
Let's say that within the 10, I got a disturbance, which is really aid, Let's say I don't like someone, just unfounded hatred, and I can even, while I feel this, I can also look at it from the side, but still, I suffer from it greatly. How do I make use of that in order to rise above reason? In other words, how do I use it, just like he explained?
Just imagine, if the Creator were revealed, and He would reveal to you that He deliberately positioned this negative image of a friend, if you can call him a friend, well, whatever, a friend in the 10, which you hate. He gives you hard time, troubles. If it were clear to you that it's the Creator positioning him and placing him, how would you relate to that figure? Yes?
So it's something that I work on it for a long time. I treat him just like that it's an opportunity and it's a chance.
And not as an opportunity, but as coming from the Creator, from above. You don't attribute to a person any reality. It's all the Creator positioning these friends to me and saying, take this. And taking them means receiving them from Him. And this whole 10, He will spoil it throughout the way until the end of correction, more and more. And I will have to determine more and more that it's Him establishing them, giving me these troubles so that on top of them I will relate not to them, but to Him, that He's doing it. And this is why I love them, just like I should love Him. Yes?
Okay, so let's say that we make that decision, and just like you said, and here, I'm willing to stay here. I can explode, I can hate them more, but I want it to continue in order for me to be able to determine that it's Him who does it, and that I don't even feel it, I don't even demand to feel it, just for it to remain, to continue, and that I'll be able to continue that? Is that where it ends?
That's it. That's where it ends. And then behind these efforts, you'll see that the Masach is created in you. Yes.
Another question, so to relate it to none else besides Him, that can be done in the 10, that can be done, but how to do good that does good, how to find that?
We're not talking about this for now. Right now, there's none else besides Him. Okay? Yes?
Holland, if the friend is a quality in me, what does it mean to ask for the friends? Again, if the friend is a quality in me, what does it mean? What is the meaning of asking for the friends?
Are you saying this or are you feeling this? That's the difference. Either you're saying what's written in the book or you're feeling and you're saying what you're feeling. Distinguish between them. Moscow.
Вот сейчас прочитали отрывок, там была фраза
Just read a quote, an excerpt, and it says there that the path of the Creator, the ways of the Lord are straight. How to understand that?
The ways of the Lord are straight. Very simple. The Creator does the same thing all the time. He doesn't change anything. He only adds more and more evil inclination. And by this, He gives a person a chance to cancel it, to position it opposite the good inclination, and that way determine the gap between the bad and the good and to see the actual reality. The evil inclination must not disappear from the world, because then we will not detect anything. The upper light, we can't see it. We can only see forms on top of the upper light. So the bad remains and the good remains, and the gap between them grows increasingly. And this is what we have in our perception of reality. The thing is that although all the darkness is revealed over the light, but we relate to this darkness as to the light, because there's nothing real in it, but it's only in order for us to discover the Creator. This is why the relation to the darkness is as a relation to the light equally. And when both of them work together, we will have 600 times more perception of reality. Continue. Yes, Akoka.
What should we do with all the disturbances that come with respect to the path?
I don't know what to do. The path itself?
Yeah, 1,000,001 disturbances. One could have an issue coming to the morning lesson. One could have a disturbance coming to the Zohar lesson. Another one with dissemination. Each one has his own series of disturbances towards the path.
Surrender yourself before the friends get impressions from them. Either company or death. Either friends or death. There's nothing you can do. A person has to understand that unless he subjugates himself and doesn't get strengthening from the group, he's got no chance of advancing. Not in remaining, even in being the most passive, much less in advancing. It's impossible. Impossible. Moscow.
Сергей из единой виртуальной группы спрашивает, какой алгоритм действий...
Sergey from the United Virtual Group is asking, what is the algorithm of the actions from the moment I find myself while I'm not in illness besides him? What should I notice and how to use this state for the work?
Work as if there is such a reality that there's none else besides it, and it determines everything, and this force determines everything, all the actions in the world, in people, in everyone. This is it's together with the work with our reality in this world. It doesn't matter. At the same time, we, on a more internal level, relate to reality in this way. We shouldn't be confused. It's not like I can relate to it in this way to everyone, and to the whole world, and to my entire life. No. Gradually we come closer to a state where this awareness dresses in the forms of this world, and we will see how to exist in both worlds correctly. It's a very substantial, complicated change in the perception of reality. It has to grow on you. It says habit becomes second nature, so we don't jump into it right away. We gradually try to be in this more and more. But mainly it is about annulment before the environment, before the 10. If we want to perceive reality correctly, annulment before the 10, and it doesn't matter in what way it is. It exists in the way that the Creator gave it to me. Because I don't deserve more, or the other way around. Because I already deserve something very bad, because I already have the strength to overcome it. And now we're moving on to the next part.